Hey there traders, David here of TradingFibsAndMarketFi.com to bring you the daily trend recap for May 13th, 2015. As always, please seek financial advisement when trading with your money. As these videos are for educational purposes only, support your knowledge in the market, see what was going through my head on any given day. Always make sure you have a solid trading plan and always manage your stop when placing a trade. Let's jump right into the macro pick of the four indices. Here on the futures, as we can see, the TF holding above the Fibonacci target 50%, but unable to really break that monthly fib level. The YM, 1, 2, 3, 4, you count them, 6, 7, 8, almost 8 times being able to break this Fibonacci and really hold upside to 18068 with upper levels here as we see monthly fib level 18501. Similar picture on the Nasdaq with volume just approaching the 60 period. Average there, holding up at the monthly fib level and also doing the chop here at the monthly fib, at the daily fib level of 50% at 44.01. The ES here doing the chop that we saw yesterday in our wrap as we see price action just jumping on this 50% up and down and up and down and not being able to really hold upside 2096 with weekly fib levels, monthly fib level and fib target number 2. So that zone between 2191 and 2229. Eventually, who knows, we'll get up there, but obviously not at this juncture. Let's jump right into the 5-minute macro pick, taking a look here at the 25 to 1 hour open range depicted in the red. Price action flew upside, and it was from the top of the 25-minute open range to just almost to the average move down here on the Russell, finding support at a post 30-minute support line, and just eventually holding up here at the bottom of the 25-minute and 1 hour open range. Here we see on the YM price action just keeping within this chop, and this is one of the reasons we go ahead and tell the traders and the members in the trading room is that a lot of times inside this daily gap we need to adjust our technique because we call this sometimes a no trade zone. So obviously looking for the trend setup, a little difficult, but doesn't mean you can't trade it, but a little difficult with this chop here as we can see the same thing, hugging the overnight low, really not being able to close any lower, though closing out that daily gap on the Nasdaq, coming up from the overnight high, and on the ES here, same price action in between the daily pivot and daily gap, just doing that chop. Very difficult to end off the day there. So really the goal is what? That first 2.5 hours of trading right here, having that first nice setup to the downside. So let's jump right in to some of those setups that we had today. Here we see on all four major indices, right about 35 minutes past the open, you did have a push up like most days afterwards, which price action turned around to the downside, looking for the T3 moving average crossover, as you can see here, and the 5 below the 34. Moving on, we can see here on the Nasdaq, flipping to the charts, where we have the setup of the 144 and the 50-period moving average. Price action holding up here at the 50 before breaking downside, bullish above and bearish below. Setting up in sync with the short on the T3 moving average crossover, set up to the short side, and with the 534 all in the red here with Heiken Ashi bars and trend to keep you into the shorts. Here we can see the same thing on the YM, looking for an attempt back up at about almost 2.5 hours past the open. Here we see the 9 o'clock hour West Coast time, 12 o'clock East Coast time, 144 EMA here with resistance. Looking at a tick count being unable to push upside, to push on the throttle to move this above. How many attempts? We have 5 attempts on the YM here as we're all in the green, 5 above the 34. Still looking for that push above and unable to get it. As price action set up to the downside on the YM, having a nice setup on the T3 crossover 534. Again, couldn't get above that resistance at the 144 EMA, and then finally breaking through a little bit on the 50-period moving average. Here we have in about 3-4 hours past market open here at the 11 o'clock hour West Coast time, another setup to the downside as we have all four major indices crossing their T3 moving average crossovers, and then the 534 on the way down. And then our last setup, major move before all that chop at the end, as you saw there on the 5-minute macro pick. Price action breaks to the upside on a T3 moving average crossover. And then 5 above 34 to keep you in the trend with HA bars and a tick count. So if it's not the major indices that you're watching, what is that you're watching? If it's possible, futures. If it's possible on the Forex exchange, whatever it is, same strategy as we can see here. Listening into the shadow trader room today, listening to positions opening up on Sprouts and Whole Foods, as we can see here. You don't have to trade the futures to apply this strategy. And so looking at the trend trade as we see here on a 100-tick range chart, longer term, close to a daily. The Sprouts Farmers Markets, we can see here, is in a complete downtrend at this time. Solid body, Heiken Ashi bars to the downside, 534 downside, and T3 moving average crossover with a possible resurgence back to the upside. Same thing on the Whole Foods market, as we can see here on a 100-tick range chart, has been all downside. So how do we splice into a trade that would give me a higher probability of perhaps being in trend? So what we do is we come down and we break our, perhaps come into an intraday, as we can see here on the Sprouts. This is an intraday. This is just for today's trading session on a 10-tick range chart. As you can see, price action now breaking to the upside with the 534 crossover. T3 moving average makes for a nice trend trade for the day. From 27, about from here 27.89 all the way up to 29.71. Again, not in a long-term trade yet, as we saw back here. As we, on a longer term, are still to the downtrend. We want the T3 moving averages to be back upside, but Heiken Ashi bars putting you into the trade to the upside, and the 534 crossover all in sync. And in case the intraday is not your cup of tea and you're looking for something that is a little bit more swing reliant, then what you do is you go, instead of to a 10-tick intraday, you want to, perhaps this is over a couple days, from a 100-tick range chart, you come down to a 50-tick range chart. As you can see, price action has been in the short, completely down, has crossed over. So we have a T3-5 down, and we have a T3-10 up. So a little bit of a divergence there. We want both in the green, and we want 5 above the 34 to actually put us back in the trade. So I would hold off from the Whole Foods market at this point. Taking a look over here, another stock that was mentioned was also RAX. Did my own analysis here, similar setup, as we see numerous opportunities to the upside on the 534 T3 moving average crossover. Again, applying a 144 and a 50 EMA, kept you in the trade to the upside. And then once price action broke below the 50-period moving average, and then even stronger to the downside. Again, if you're looking to splice into this, I would definitely look for an entry on a smaller time frame if you believe price action is at the low. And then finally, at the market wrap here on Investors Business Daily, something I tend to watch every day, looking for charts that show position strategies that pretty much match up to what it is that I'm looking at. So the market wrap has not come out for the day, but they were talking about IDTI with a high composite rating, 99, their top score for this chip maker. An article I did write at seeitmarket.com. You can check it out there. But applying IDTI here with strong fundamentals, applying the technicals. You can see here on a 100-tick range chart, and then coming down to a 50-tick range chart, and then looking at a 10-tick range chart. So again, the trend right now, the IBD buy above here at 2039. And then looking here, price action, you'll have to forgive me. I don't remember if it's 2039 or 2174 on the breakout. But either way, you had a trend that had built up here back in October that would have put you in the early entry on IDTI, chipmaker. Price action obviously chopping here at the tops with the rest of the market. And then here, price action on a 50, being able to splice in here more on a daily basis, giving you an entry here on a 534. And in case you miss the late entry, you can go ahead and then go to an intraday on a 10-tick range chart. As you can see, over the last 2 days, a 5 above 34 and a T3 moving average crossover. That concludes today's daily trend wrap. Feel free to stop by at tradingfibs.com or any of my social media outlets to obtain more information. My trading mantra of know one thing, know well rings true for all markets. You can find me every day on Twitter at TradingFibs. And always I leave the crystal ball to the experts. I only trade what's in front of me and on my charts. Any strategy, or I should say one strategy here, any market, any chart, any time frame. Have yourself a blue zone day.